Hello, maayong gabi. Ako gali si Joshua. Kag-welcome sa Nagrasanan Young Leaders Institute nga Sugilanon, no? Ginaabi-abi ka mo namon sa pagbalik sa Sugilanon sini sa iya nga ikaduha nga season. So season 2 na kita ini ang episode 1 sang season 2 sang Sugilanon hag sa idalom na ini sang istorya. So ang istorya isa ka programa sang Youth Empowering Youth Initiative kag Nagrasanon Young Leaders Institute para dalon sa inyo mga istorya sa mga pamatanon kag ang mga istorya nga may kabahin ang pamatanon, especially sa mga issues na ginapangatubang man sa mga pamatanon sa subong nga sosyedad. So sa liwat, ako si Joshua, kag ako ang inyong main host sa aton isa ka oras nga pag-inistoryahanay no kabahin sa aton topiko subong nga gabi. So tonight, we will be having a topic that is wala permi ginaistoryahan no, pero subong mag-iistoryahan kita kung ano ang aton nga pagtuo sa aton nga youth engagement. Kag kaupod naton diri subo ang aton nga mga kaupod nga mga active nga mga youth leaders nga mga mapag-on man ang ila pagtuo in relation to their spirituality. So subong no pag-istoryahan naton kung paano bala nila na-connect ang ilang spirituality with the things they do no in their youth engagement. So ginatamyaw kita nga tanan sang Nagrasanon Young Leaders Institute Incorporated kag pwede gid nga mag-comment sa idalom sang ining post sa NYLI kung sa diin nyo man ini makita subong nga gabi kag pwede magpadala sa inyong mga pagtamyaw, sa inyong mga pamangkot or iban pa nga mga suhestyon o kung mga kalain sang buot nga gusto niyo ipabutyag subong nga gabi. So sa liwat, ako si Joshua Villalobos, ang Program Officer for Youth Empowerment sa Nagrasanon Young Leaders Institute Incorporated. So sa mga bag-ulo na kalantaw, ini ang pagbalik sang Sugilanon. Subong sugod kita sang aton nga season 2 and this is the episode 1 entitled Faith and Youth Engagement. Just to give us an overview, no? May ara kita sang gin-imbitar sa nga tatlo ka mga aktibo nga mga pamatanon sa ilang mag-share sang ilang engagement sa aton nga youth sa ilang mga programa nga may kaangtanan sa aton nga mga pamatanon kag sa nambag kagina kung paano naman nila ma-connect ang ilang spirituality with the things they do for the youth and their engagement with the youth and their social actions. And our first guest, she is the Philippine Youth Representative of the sa Pre-Synodal Meeting on Young People, Faith, and Vocational Discernment with Pope Francis dito sa Roma. Kag nagtapos siya bilang magna cum laude sa iyang undergraduate degree kag highest honors sa iyang Masters in Guidance and Counseling sa University of St. LaSalle. Sa subong, siya ang Youth Coordinator of the Diocesan Youth Council of the Diocese of Bacolod. So, thank you for accepting the invitation, Ma'am Trish Pangilinan. Good evening.
Hi, Joshua. Good evening. Thank you also for inviting me.
Yes, thank you, gid, Madam Trish. No, ang imong nga tingog do ka very angelic, gid do. Naglungtad ang paghidait sa akon nga pagkatawo, pagkabati ko sa imong nga tingog. Madamo gid nga salamat. Sa ikaduha nga aton nga bisita subong nga gabi, siya naman isa ka second year student sa BS in Marine Engineering sa John B. Lacson Colleges Foundation Incorporated. Siya man ang naging System Model Cadet sa bilog nga John B. Lacson unit. Kag sa subong siya ang Associate Editor sa The Carrier, amo ining official publication sa John B. Lacson Colleges Foundation, Bacolod. Kag isa man siya sa aton mga alumnos sa Nagrasanon Young Leaders Summit. So, siya subong mag-istorya sa niya perspective bilang isa ka Iglesia ni Cristo kung paano niya nagamit sa iya pag-upod sa mga programa para sa mga pamatanon. Renjel, may gabi.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Josh. I hope you are all doing fine.
Yes, madam. Sige. Madam, salamat sa pag-upod sa amo, no? Miski naga-brown out dira sa inyo, miski sa kadulom nag-upod na kita sa aton paghinunanon sa mga gabi.
Amen.
Madam, salamat. So, ikatatlo, Siya naman niya ang isa sa mga volunteer secretariat ng College Editors Guild of the Philippines, kag siya man ang education officer sang Anak Bayan, UP Visayas. Sa subong siya man ang chairperson sa Student Christian Movement sang UP Visayas. Jericho, good evening.
Ngayong gabi.
Okay, may gabi. So, good evening. So, subong ginapangatubang natin ang nagakalain-lain yung mga challenges. Buwa pa sa atong trabaho, subong nagatinagul pa ang mga ido. So, kung diin ang halin yung mga ido, no, mga ido siguro sa hinigaran, ng hito sa bago, naga-abdanay sa atong yung programa subong gabi. So, basta nagahinon-anon, man sila, ag nagasugilanon, man sila kaupod naton. So, kabay nga magpamati, man sila sa atong taga-istoryahan sa subong gabi. And please introduce yourself, starting off with Ma'am Trish.
Okay, sige. They usually mag-introduce themselves na ang lawas tigid una, but then gusto ko i-associate or I would like to start off siguro with two places na very close to my heart. Amo na siyang Sacred Heart Seminary kag ang Carmel that has become part of my identity formation and growth. So, I would spend much time there nag-interact with mga seminarians, mga priests, mga nuns, kag religious. And being an only child, my parents brought me everywhere, most especially sa CFM engagement. So ano na siyang CFM? It stands for Christian Family Movement. It is a movement mandated by the Catholic Church to evangelize and be evangelized through the varied family and life programs and youth programs as well. So these exposures, aside from regularly attending masses, observing mga Catholic feasts and rituals, it has all strengthened my value towards my religious denomination as a Roman Catholic. So I'm here to represent that religious denomination, and it has also strengthened my faith and spirituality. And talking about the youth engagements naman, the heart for service towards my has developed as I was brought up by my parents, or I was brought with them sa varied mga church activities nila, community activities, and eventually ang witnessing na it has been embedded siguro in my system na even na wala na sila or hindi sila present all the time, I continue to have that desire to be able to share that overflowing love I have received and also to be a gift to others. So I recall back during the times when I was still a student na I was so packed with several organizations. I'm sure ba si Renjil, is that right? Renjil kag si Jericho, amo man na damo-damo kamo mga organizations and mga involvements, and my weekends were always full with volunteer work and advocacy projects. So having studied in Catholic institutions, my alma mater's motto, Ora et Labora, which means prayer and work, amo na siya ang nagbulig sa akon na mag-strike balance sa akon faith, sa akon service life, kag being in communion with others, especially during moments na do ka feeling do ka puno na sang tanan or do ka overwhelming na. And as you mentioned earlier, I'd like to share it also. That's one major life event siguro that I would forever be grateful for. It was the opportunity to be one of the two representatives of our country in the pre-synodal meeting with Pope Francis in last 2018. And it was, we talked about young people, faith and vocational discernment. And I'd also like to share na ang beauty sang amoto na event kag na gathering, it was a discussion not only with young Catholics, but then Pope Francis invited young people from different religious denominations as well. Because when we speak of the young, we speak of everyone as a whole, whether you come from a different religion, whether you have different beliefs, right? So today, I continue to allow God to use me as an instrument of evangelizing others by trusting na ang iya na unconditional love in my life has been present, and it has been very somehow bearable to live during these trying times, knowing that His unconditional love is always there.
Thank you, Manang Jess, no? And indeed, no, ang motto lang kagi nga Ora et Labora, and how it actually makita bala naton sa aton mga tagsa-tagsa hindi lamang sa pamatanon kundi pati man sa mga may edad na nga ara man nagaobra sa simbahan yan kung paano bala nila nakita ang extension sa ila obra sa sosyedad bilang extension man sa ila pagtuo sa Ginoo kag kung ano man ang ilang mga di man nila gina-anchor ina sa ila kabahin sa ila doktrina or sa ilang pagtulunan sa simbahan. So sa liwat no as mentioned by Manang Trish, ang aton diri subong nga mga bisita naghalin sa mga lain-lain nga mga religious denomination. So si Manang Trish nagre-represent siya sa mga pamatanon halin sa Roman Catholic, si Rengel naman halin sa Iglesia ni Cristo kag si Jericho sa Baptist. So it's actually good to hear multiple perspectives on how their faith have parang fuel them to move forward and do their work in the community with the youth. And I think I also need to lay it forward that I'm irreligious. So wala ako sa relihiyon. So I think nang manami man para sa ako ng ining practice nga magpamati sa inyo kay bilang bukas man ako kung paano naman yang inyong mga experiences and your motivations has actually led you to do the things that you do for the community and for the youth. So thank you good ng Trish. Rangel, okay ka pa to introduce yourself? Kaya ba sinadula ka na ang kuryente dito sa Hinigaran?
Hello. Am I clear? Okay, so hi everyone. I hope everyone is doing fine amidst all that's happening right now. Bali, I came from a family of Iglesia ni Cristo members. I was brought up in a family of Iglesia ni Cristo members. From the day that I was born until now, I am a member of the Church of Christ, and it really has played a great role, if not man everything that I am right now, from my faith to my values to my perspectives sa mga bagay-bagay. As an INC member, I can say that it really gives me the lens of perspective nga anchored yun siya sa faith namon, which is always being taught as biblical or like everything that is based in the Bible. And regarding with the youth engagement, I think I started to engage with the youth or to various organizations and mga activities when I started to see kumaga ang mga bagay-bagay sa kalibutan as I grew up. And ako, sang bata ko, ginaupod ko permis sa akong parents sa amon nga mga evangelical mission from places to places wherein I have met different people from different walks of life, and it really spurred to me nga we really are different at the same time we meet in between. And dito ko na realize nga okay, there are different gaps nga kinahanglan i-fill, especially sa mga pamatanon and at our age. And I think the common notion sa amon as INC is do ka mga mga more on church and ng mga kind of people. Pero honestly, we go beyond the church. We help in various humanitarian works where particularly ang amon nga program which is Nakabayan Ko Kapatid Ko, where we help our fellow countrymen in times of crisis or even in just normal days nga whenever or wherever they need help. And I was brought up as an INC member to nga in every time we have to see the silver lining, that we have to be thankful for everything that's happening despite of whatever is happening bala. But at the same time, we have to see the reality of it all and assess where you could be able to help and to fill the gap. Amo na siya. And
I think nag-pause si Rengel tungkol siguro sa iyang internet connection. Hello, Rengel.
hello.
Okay.
Sorry. And And as a youth as well as a member of the INC, as a youth, nakita ko man as I go along with the various organizations nga, yeah, regardless man of our different faith and regardless man of our different perspective, we could make this world or our community a good one by helping and by kumbaga i-compromise and meet in between kundi ta makabuligay as one, setting aside our differences. And one thing that I learned mismo as a member of the church is to be a to be a follower of Christ, and by that kinanglan mo i-embody ang values and character ni Jesus Christ, and which is to be helpful, to be grateful, and to be loving sa mga tao and sa tanan-tanan sa palibot. I guess that's it.
Thank you so much, Renjel. And I'm also happy now that you brought up the things with our differences. But because, of course, we can go for 24 hours of talking and debating about our differences, no? Sa aton mga pagkalain-lain sa pagtuo, kung sa wala sa pagtuo, hindi wala. Pero, ari ka diri subong para istoryahan ang aton nga commonalities. Hindi ba na nagdeklara ganun si Pope Francis this year as the year of, ano gani man ang Trish? Economism, ano gani? Ang daw coming together of different religious denominations. Iba daw may declaration si Pope Francis of ano gani man ang Trish, nalipat ko sang pangalan.
I think that was a year ago. Subong celebrate sang 500 years of Christianity. So this time ang theme naton sina is gifted to give.
Okay. Thank you, Gid. So, amo na bala, no? Madamo kita sa pagkakalain-lain niya bilang mga amo na nahabal kung may pagsaton mga pagtuo kung sa wala man sa pagtuo. Pero ari ka diri subong para i-celebrate ang aton nga commonalities. So, thank you. Hi, Francis, Pabiana, may gabi. So, thank you, Gid Renjel. And Jericho, good evening. Please introduce yourself.
Ngayong gabi, I am Jericho Trio, the current chairperson of the Student Christian Movement of the Philippines, UP Visayas. The Student Christian Movement of the Philippines started as an ecumenical movement amongst different Protestant denominations, may it be Baptist, Methodist, Presbyterian, and Episcopalians. With it is the mission to integrate faith into the struggles faced by the people. Hindi hiwalay ang pananampalataya sa pakikibaka na dinadanas ng sambayan ng anak pawis. Thus, the motto of the Student Christian Movement of the Philippines is follow Christ, love thy neighbor, and serve the people. Christ is not found alone in our liturgies or litanies, but is found in the daily struggles of the people. For if the church starts to close her doors to the struggles of the people, we try to remain ignorant to these dire realities and experiences being faced by the masses. So ang akong faith is Baptist. Kalabanan sa mga Baptists are conservatives. Minority lang ang progressives within the Baptist faith. However, as time goes on, Baptists come to realize that we need to go out from the four corners of the church. For outside the church is our mission. Outside the church, it is where we live our faith. So, also, naging part ako sa College Editors Guild of the Philippines. It is the broadest alliance of tertiary campus publications in the Asia Pacific. Perhaps ang natunan ko sa CEGP kag sa Student Christian Movement of the Philippines that we must have our own preferences. Kang aton nga preferences must always side to the poor, the oppressed, the society.
Thank you, Jericho. I assume naguntat yan na kayo medyo at the end medyo ang imong audio, pero thank you for that moving introduction. And no, sa liwat ginakilala gid naton ang papel sa aton nga mga religious institutions sa pagwa man sa aton nga sosyedad para man magpamati kag magpalapit sa aton nga gina-consider nga poor. Di ba gani sa medyo familiar ko sa Katoliko kay medyo nagaupod ko sila permi ni Father Chris, ni Bishop Jerry. No, it's permi ko na ang mission gid is to go for the last, the lost, and the least. Hindi ba lang magpalapit sa ila, kag dapat tipunon sila, kag kabigon sila magsulod sa simbahan. So, amo man siguro na ang sa different nga ginahambal ni Christian nga pagpalapit sa simbahan sa aton nga sa mga ara sa laylayan sa aton nga sosyedad. Kag that's always been isa sa mga mission sa aton nga mga religious institution. So madamo gid nga salamat. This time magadto na makita sa aton nga mga let's go more personal naman sa inyo. So how are you doing lately, especially in this context of the pandemic? Dason siguro na limit ang aton nga mga gatherings, ang aton mga activities. And then there's also a pronouncement no sa dason nga semana, Holy Week na. And then there's a mandate halin sa ato national government nga ipasira ko ang mga simbahan. So may mga amuna. So what are your thoughts? First, what are your feelings no sa subong nga pandemya, and then what are your thoughts in the holiest tani nga celebration or commemoration sa inyong part dason amo ni ang natabo sa aton subong. So let's start with Renjel naman siguro.
Oh, yeah. Regarding sa quarantine, it's been more than a year no, sa ato ng sitwasyon. And personally, it has been challenging. Physically, mentally, emotionally. And I have to say, perhaps spiritually. And for a more than a year nga nag-span, it's been a challenge for me. Last year, kasugod pa lang ako admit nagasugod pa lang ko sa mga organizational work, sa mga pudupod volunteer sa mga various causes. And kumbaga ang momentum ko during that time do ka medyo tayo yun na. And although there were some pa ng doubts and mga setbacks, pero I really felt nga I was drawn into it. And then this pandemic came. Kumbaga ang gina-build up ko sa nga time nga to be able to be active na gid and to be able to help as much as I could, though na naglay low na napaslawan because again of this pandemic. Wala pa ang mga different challenges like personal day, let's say isang nag-quarantine. It was really hard for me and for my family given nga ang amon pangabuyan was dependent sa sang syudad or sang banwa. And then regarding with our faith and personally we don't celebrate the Holy Week, but we observe sa amon ang Santa Cena, which is the kumbaga the reenactment sang Last Supper, which is gina celebrate manamon ang holiness sang tagsa ka and where do regarding with the during the quarantine na stop gid ang paggadto sa simbahan, and it really was hard given nga kami gasimbagi kami sa amon mga physical church. And one of the actions or gagingiyo sa amon simbahan was to bring the church in our certain houses, and we have to keep safe. At the same time, we keep going on with our faith and our service to the Lord God and to the Lord Jesus Christ. And subong ang pagpilaw hindi gid malikawan, pero ginapanghawakan gid namon ang pagtudlo sang simbahan sa amon nga mangin mabakod kag mangin positibo ano man ang kalatabo sa aton kabuhi. And what else regarding with the I guess that's it.
Thank you, good Renjil, no? And it's actually a new learning for me hearing that. Pero madamo gid nga salamat for sharing. And indeed, it's a struggle sa aton sa tanan nga aspeto, siguro sa aton nga kabuhi, economic, social, spiritual, mental health, grabe gid. Hambal gani ang isa ka pastor namo sa Siliman. Hambalya, ang thing na lang guro siguro nga nagapadayon sa aton, despite all of this crisis and challenges is ang aton nga gratefulness. Bala kay ti at some point, siguro mapinasalamaton taman kita. Kaya kung hindi siguro kita grateful, kag hopeful, siguro wala na kita nagpadayon, kag wala na kita push pa nga, nga mag-persist despite all of these challenges that we're facing. Thank you, good Red Jill. How about you, Jericho? How are you doing lately, especially in this pandemic, and how it has affected your faith and your engagement with the youth?
In terms sa ACADS, balaan man naton nga it has been a financially demanding, mentally draining gid sa mga ang setup naton nga online learning. Kag life has been really struggling gid subong. Well, in terms of faith, I believe nga ginrigod man sa Ginoo kag ipag-isa akon ang mga kabudlay nga my own struggles is also visible sa struggle sa aton nga kaisip nga it is not separate our struggle, but we are all sharing these struggles. So we have to put our shoes, the shoes of others, of other people. So lang na.
Thank you, good Jericho. Indeed, it has been very mentally taxing. I think tanan kita diri involved sa academe. Ako estudyante man, si Renjil, si Jericho, estudyante, si Ma'am. Chirish, I think, teach sa Lasal. So, tanan kita nagapangatuban gid sa kabudlayan sang online distance learning. Kag tanan-tanan gid naton nga basically everything nga ang ginahimo to sang una daw nagkambyo gid tungod sa ngini nga pandemic. Thank you. How about you, Manang Trish?
Okay, as for me, siguro, currently, I'm just living one day at a time, responding kung ano man yun ang gusto ni Lord for me at the present moment. Kaya amo na siya siguro ang biggest takeaway ko na na-learn man sa sinina pandemic na because I'm a person who usually has a game plan. Kung makuton mo ko kung anong 10-year plan ko, may ara ko na may mahasabat sa imo usually. But with everything that happened and the pandemic, damo mga roadblocks na natabo. I'm sure damo man kamo mga detours in life na may plans kamo tani. Galing wala siya natigayon kay syempre nag-pandemic, which these things made me embrace the saying na man proposes but God disposes. It reminded me that I'm not in control of everything. Na the less I try to take control of certain situations in my life and certain aspects in my life, the more I was able to recognize God's hand at work and make room for Him to fulfill what He thinks is best for me. And yes, challenging gituod na may moments man ina ako mismo ma-backslide, although feeling ko may ara na ko tools be as in my profession na sa mental health ko be, pero may tools na ko, but then there are really moments when you would backslide and though ka may ara gid times na you would feel really down, but then I believe it was God's grace that was ever present that accompanied me during these times. Okay, if I were to describe siguro my pandemic experience, I have said this again and again kung yun namang quote ko, I would associate pandemic to something that's like a nightmare. No, it's a really bad dream na we're living in right now. And may isa ka young person na nag-share sa akon na it's like balloons kita. Now we are forced to expand and hold it together and keeping ourselves afloat sa sky, that vague sky. But then sooner or later, ma-reach na ang saturation point na we would explode and we would pop. So it is along this light that I felt the strong need siguro to continually advocate mental health as well, especially to the young people, the frontliners who have been doing their best since day one. And aside from that, I would also advocate the awareness of the prevention of child sexual abuse, which is another societal concern. So through some aspects of my life were put on hold, as what also some of one of you mentioned earlier na pause gid ang life, especially if you look at your dreams and like personally my dreams as a young professional, I was directed to other more important things, I guess, that I might have neglected, such as nurturing relationships. Ang lockdown, it was an opportunity for us to spend more time with our families and to reconnect with friends. And I found myself being able to continue to give some talks, man, now given na online na everything. And then we were able to adapt everything, even the different churches in the different denominations, though naging more innovative, bala to not just stay within the church, but then to go out and reach out to the people na hindi makagwa sa own houses nila. So, also lately, recently, together with a guidance counselor, we gave a psychospiritual recollection man. And amo na, you mentioned earlier that I also got into a teaching job na I'd never considered in my entire life that I would teach a psychology subject to college students. But because I was really gearing towards working with children, mga bata ang mga hilig ko, gid. And that was never part of my game plan. But and many more happened. Although all these brought about certain learnings, and I guess Doka, it's that trust that at this point, amo na ang gusto ni Lord sa life ko. And I believe that faith has played a major role towards managing how I feel about the current situation. It is faith that was able to help me keep going, trusting that God knows best, and there is that feeling of gratefulness that He's always there to protect us no matter what. And just being able to wake up in itself in the morning, kung kesado mabaliwala ta na, kay ang ginapaminsarta, ang mga things that we need to do for the day, but being able to wake up is a gift in itself. And that unwavering, you get to see different people like you guys and the other young people and everyone working together in order to cope with the situation. It gives us like that sense of hope na we get to adapt through these trying times together as one, even if we belong to different denominations. It's not really about competing with one another, but we collaborate in order to get through these trying times.
Indeed, thank you so much, Manang Trish. That was so beautiful. Kag sa onset ng pandemic, nakita man naton kung paano nag-mobilize ng different religious denominations to respond to the immediate needs of the people. Kag gusto ko lang i-circle in naman yung panghambalin ng Trish, especially sa sexual abuse, because there has been an increase, no, especially sa lockdown, kay hindi makagwa, ng iban. Unfortunately, the cases are incestual cases, so ara gid sa sulod sa panimalay. So medyo masubo na para sa aton, and we're actually doing some work kami sa NYLI. Nagahimo man sa mga activities and programs. We're implementing 2 programs relevant to that. So if you want to support our work, ara dira sa aton sa dalom sa inyong screen ang amon nga mga bank details. Kag gusto ko man to namian gid ko to sang ara balang wala gid sa may naka-integrate sa aton nga 10-year plan or 4-year plan or college plan nga matabo niyang pandemic nga ara tagali sa aton mga kwarto maklase, ara tagali sa aton mga balay matake sa aton mga quizzes and exams and do our activities, even ROTC sa aton mga panimalay, pero wala kita sang mahimo kundi himuon is sa kung diin kita subong. And then gusto ko lang man i-affirm nga kung may ala kita mga negative emotions, especially sini nga mga tinion, is very normal to feel negative emotions in this very abnormal time. So gusto ko lang man i-rechannel diri ang na-learn nakon last Friday night sa isa man naman ka show sa TFDP, supported by Association of Major Religious Superiors in the Philippines. Sa isa ka psychologist talin sa Medical Action Group, hambal niya, one practice that we can do para ma-improve ang ating mental health is to give ourselves a hug and stop, especially after Friday night being ando na damo namin na-accomplish or due time natin na-accomplish pero nag-survive kita within the week. It will actually help us realize our worth. Kag ang aton nga ginobra nga nag-survive kita kag nagbato kita sa subong nga malisod no nga parte sang aton nga history. So, subong no ang pag-istoryahan naton ang kung paano ninyo na-integrate ang inyong faith with the things that you do for youth engagement. And I'm actually very interested to listen to you because as I've said, nang wala ako nag-subscribe sa any religion as of the moment. But I'm of course very open to hearing your thoughts. And I'm also a sociology student, and dako ang parte sang religion sa paghubog sa paghubog sa aton mga personalities. Kay dako ang iyang papel bilang isa ka dako man nga social institution. So kung paano bala kita maapektuhan ang aton pagtubo, ang aton nga personality, ang aton nga values, etc., that is all affected with the religion that we ascribed ourselves to. So gusto na akon kamo pamangkuton kung paano nga inyong spiritualidad nagaguide sa inyo ginahimo sa matag adlaw-adlaw, especially sa inyo ginahimo parte sa mga programa para sa mga pamatanon, in your advocacies, and the things that you do for social action. Sige, sino gusto mag-start? Jericho. Okay ka pa, Jericho? No. So, isa man sige na pangatubang naton diri sa Pilipinas ang aton mahinay nga signal kag internet connection. So normal gid kung kita man naga-lag or nagakwan. So Jericho, ahambal na kon kagina nga paano naman ka nag-guide sang imo nga spirituality with the things you do in relation to your engagement with the youth and social action?
One of the pastors that influenced me to take the path of activism is Reverend Dr. Rose Dures from the church. She was a feminist and a martial law victim. She would often preach in the pulpit that the church is only a church.
So unfortunately, nagadula-dula ang internet ni Jericho, pero ang itong ginahambal niya ko, no, he is learning from a great pastor who is also a martial law victim. And others, if we can actually dedicate a separate discussion with martial law and religion, it's actually a very, very good story kung paano gin-resist sa religious, kung paano gin-resist kasi ibang denominations gin-accept and gin-supportaran ang diktatura ni Marcos. Pero, namin na siya nga separate discussion, Jericho, arin na siya. So, medyo nag-utod-utod man ang internet ni Jericho. So, para sa information sing everyone, si Jericho ara siya sa Bago, Subong. Si Rangel naman sa Hinigaran. Sige, Jericho. Sige, Jericho, go ahead. Continue, please.
We need to remember that the church is not an apolitical nor an apathetic entity. For the church is a venue where people can express themselves, a venue which forwards the struggles of the people, and a venue which amplifies existing experiences. Particularly, we may deem them as small man na siya or dako man na siya. It needs to be amplified. So, in Micah chapter 6, verse 8, it says that the Lord asks us, what does the Lord require of thee but to do justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God? So bali the work to pursue justice is something which is not deviated from Christianity. Kaya ara na siya mismo within the Christian faith. To be Christian is to do justice. To follow the paths of Christ is to do justice. Hindi sila inseparable na entities. That's why Reverend Dr. Sharon Rose Durimdes would often say that to be a Christian in this world is to challenge structures that continue to permeate tyranny and oppression. So, amo lang gina siguro ang one of the main drivers sa pagpursue sa akon sang faith which is in service of the people and faith which is in service of the poor.
Thank you so much, Jericho. That's a very wonderful answer. No, indeed, ang aton nga mga simbahan, madamo sa mga religious denominations are very, very political. Kaya nagapati ang ilang justification kay hindi man niya pwede nga wali lang sa pulpito kuno, pero ang dito sa guwas ng simbahan ginapamatay ang mga mangunguma, ginapamatay ang mga pigado, padayon nga nagapigado. And there's actually may ginahimo gid ang aton nga mga different nga religious denominations. And I think, siguro man bilang isa ka climate activist, gusto ko man i-raise ang very, very wonderful nga Laudato Si ni Pope Francis that has actually rallied millions of people around the world across denominations, ha, hindi lamang Katoliko, pero tanan nagsuporta sa, it's actually very radical and political if you read it. Kag makita mo kung ang nagahambal ito si Pope Francis, ganyan nga kinanglan kuno sang major and radical changes in our social and economic system. So, hindi balaga, di ka radical ang ginahambal ito ni Pope Francis. If we want to address kuno climate change, himuon natin ini nga. Thank you so much, Jericho, for underlining that fact, no? Kag salamat sa inang sentiment yung bring natin sa table para man sa atong mga pamatanon. How about you, Manang Trish?
Okay. The question was more of, what was that again?
Yeah, kung paano ka mo ginagiyahan sa inyong spirituality and the things that you do in relation with the youth engagement and social action.
All right. So, gusto ko siguro i-take ang opportunity man to elaborate more on the Catholic faith since that's the denomination I'm representing. So what's unique with the Catholic faith aside from the Eucharist is the importance it gives to Mama Mary, the saints, and their varied roles in the history of salvation. So we do not really worship them, but we would venerate them and ask for their intercession. So I'd like to share with you the impact of the personal impact of these three important figures who have greatly influenced me in my own spirituality, my own faith, and how I was able to constantly live my day to day and my engagements with the youth. So ang first, si Mary. So Mary's fiat and her yes to God is the greatest example of fully accepting God's will in total surrender. So imagine, si Mary, she could have said no na, ay hindi ko gusto i-accept yung ginhambal ni Angel Gabriel or pwede man siya nagambal. Everything would have been different if she had said no. So she didn't, at that moment, she was a young person. She didn't know what was in store for her. The future was totally uncertain. Like right now, ang gina-experience nato na pandemic, it's uncertain. We don't know when this will end. Yet, ginhatag niya ang full trust and surrender niya kay God, and she accepted His will. So in my personal journey with the youth, there may be moments, especially sa stage ko right now. I'm not sure with Jericho and Rengel and you, Joshua, pero during my stage right now, I have I might have other priorities as a young adult na I would rationalize and say na I'm past being a youth already. I've exhausted myself with volunteering. Yet when God calls, doka, looking at the perspective of Mary, sino man ako na mag-say no sa iya, di ba? So like with Mary, she not only empowers us, but also reminds us that she was a young person who gave her yes to be part of the mission of salvation. That the assurance, we also have the assurance from her na mother siya, a mother who values us, who loves us, and who cares for us. And with this, it somehow, personally, with me, it lessens my doubts, anxieties, and fears. And with her, I'm also reminded that God will never give us anything that we can handle. So, amo na ang first, si Mary. And then ang second naman, si Saint Joseph. So, subong, in the Catholic Church, we're celebrating the year of Saint Joseph. It was announced by Pope Francis last December. And I would like to give tribute to him because of the guidance that he has provided through his way of living. So in my engagement with the youth, I deal with various personalities and individuals who have different backgrounds. When it comes to time, I give so much importance to it. So kung late, though pet peeve ko gid na, though gaka-irita gid ko na at times. So there was an instance in a youth group that we were preparing for a big production, and though somehow I struggled with one youth member who was constantly late and do half committed siya bala. I'm sure you have encountered people like that, so I wonder how you were able to cope with it. Pero ang natabo diri, I tried to stretch my patience, but I couldn't help it. I'm only human. I felt frustrated, I felt upset. And eventually, when I decided to talk to him, I did it in a gentle and non-condemning manner. And I found out that ang reason gali nagka-late siya pirmi na do ka half committed siya was gahimo do kadto pa siya sa house ng neighbor niya to do the laundry kay amo na ang makuha niya na kwarta para mapakaon sa pamilya niya sa ila pamilya kay wala man may gaubra at that time. So do ka at that point, gama ko, "Hi, thank you, Saint Joseph, na ginatagan mo ko sang grace of patience and making me approach him with that kind of gentleness." Kay initially, pwede man na gin-scold ko siya, ginakigan ko siya kay I could have judged him for his lack of commitment and dedication. But with St. Joseph's modeling, I decided to listen, and through that, I was able to understand and empathize. And St. Joseph himself, if you look at his story, he listened to the angel when Mary got pregnant. So he could have chosen man to have her stoned. Kay Jesus wasn't his own child. It's like do ka fiancé mo be, for example, di yung tapos na naging pregnant ang fiancé mo, kag kabalo ka hindi na imo, syempre mangakig ka and you would be angry to the point that you would allow people to hurt that person. And he might have felt angry and hurt at that time, yet he chose the kinder decision. So most often, he is overlooked because kasimple lang siya, ka-quiet lang siya, and he's like a shadow na though wala siya gaka-recognize much at times, and kung i-ask mo ba ang mga Catholics, those who belong to that denomination, though wala siya gaka-recognize that much. And with my experiences working with the youth, personally, I'd also like to be like Saint Joseph because I would prefer the background. I don't really like being in front here talking, but I'm often led in front in my journey of evangelization and being exposed in society. There will be moments when people would question you, people would gossip about you, i-criticize ka, di yung tapos na mahimo pa mga false accusations, or even mangita sila ang sala bala sa imo in order to bring you down because you are doing the work of God. So you will encounter all these along the way, and they might be doing that in order to satisfy themselves or maybe compensate with their insecurities or ang ila ego. But with Saint Joseph also somehow may have experienced that too. The society criticizing him and making false stories about him na ay hala, gin-accept niya pa ang isa ka babae na hindi man na iya bata or kung ano man da ang stories na ginhimo about him. But then what he did was that he quietly forgave them and continued to fulfill God's will. So there are moments when others might bring you down, dear young people who are listening right now, in order to pull themselves up. But with St. Joseph's guidance, it has somehow directed me to focus my gaze on doing his will and doing what's pleasing for him instead of what's pleasing sa society. And kay based on experience, kung live ka lang in order to please society, kakapoy gid ako amo na ang basis. So Saint Joseph also guides me towards that silent accompaniment. Kay I mentioned earlier na quiet na siya na type. So being a youth leader, I believe that each young person has something to offer, yet each one also needs someone who can accompany them along this journey. And that kind of accompaniment is someone who listens to them with the ear of their hearts. And through this, they are not told na amo ni himuon mo, diri ka dapat, maamo ka ni. But then, do ka ang belief ko with that silent accompaniment, it's just like being present sa person in order for that person to be empowered, to see their own uniqueness and worth as a person, because God does not make junk. And then ang third na figure that I'd like to share would be Saint Therese naman of the Child Jesus. So having been named after Saint Therese, whom I consider my patron saint, her teachings have guided me throughout my daily life. The most powerful is ang iya na teaching na little way. So ini ang little way is all about doing little things in an extraordinary way with love. So what seems ordinary or mundane, like gahugas ta pinggan or doing household chores or as simple as giving another person a smile. Kung ginhimo mo na out of love ang teachings niya, it becomes great in the eyes of God. And it's like an offering to Him and a path of holiness. And it is also a call to humility. When engaging with the youth, I'm reminded of moments when I hear stories of young people, young Catholics na they leave the church kay may mga experience sila na ginakigan sila or ginhurt ang feelings nila or ginscold sila, gineglect sila, or people didn't believe in them and so on. So many stories. But I always say the church, I think Joshua mentioned that earlier, and I'd like to emphasize it. The church is not a place for perfect people, but ordinary people striving to develop their own relationship with God. So through the little way of Saint Therese, we are also somehow reminded to humble ourselves, for we do not serve because of those people or those leaders in the church, or we do not serve to be recognized, but we serve because we love God, and out of our love, we do it for Him. There's a saying gani na, diba, if you love someone, let them go, right? So, for me, siguro, I'd rather believe na if you love someone, no matter how difficult or challenging it is, you choose to remain through good times and through bad, right? So, amo na siya siguro ang three major figures that have somehow helped me in my journey in working with the youth.
Thank you so much, Manang Trish. That leave us all in awe gid no kung paano ni mo nakita ang ila service and ang ila nga pagpangabuhi sa ila nga tiyempo bilang kung paano mo man gyud napangabuhi ang imong kabuhi subong. So thank you gid. Gusto ko man i-underscore ang importance of having actually a person who just believes in you and just supports you. Ang ilab lang nga presence no, naga kay it actually sa aton nga ginahimo kay hindi niya mahapos wa diri sa sweldo tanan ini volunteer work das kita pa kung sa nagagasto so kita pa gabi kini ka mentally and physically taxing for all of us, but if we actually have people who support us and believe in what we do aside from our parents, bilis nga pwede kita mga mentors para sa amon sa NYLI ang amon executive director si Kevin Gaitan gabi gina iya nga support sa amon, and ang padayon bilang nga pagtuytoy bilang sa mga miski sa diin nga aspeto siguro kung may ara ka someone nga nagapati sa imo kag nagasuporta sa imo, it is actually a very very good opportunity and space for learning and growth gid. So thank you so much. How about you, Renjel? Paano naman ang imong spirituality nag-guide sa imo in your engagement with the youth?
Okay. Bali, well, it is a known fact already that Iglesia ni Cristo, being a religious organization, engage in humanitarian works. In recent years, the church has been helping the people, the Filipino people, and even the people around the world through the Aid for Humanity, ang Kabayan Ko Kapatid Ko, which were participated by its members around the world and benefited people from different nationalities in all walks of life. Among the many who have taken notice of the church humanitarian works are the leaders of the government in various countries and preachers of other religions. Well, some of them have already recognized the efforts of the church. Some of them personally galakatid sila sa head office ng church to have some conversation regarding with such matters. And personally, kumbaga, ang nagpukaw sa akon regarding with my engagement with the youth started with the church itself actually. Kumbaga, internal siya. Ang kapatiran or brotherhood ng church started my consciousness to care for one another. Sa church pa lang, I had felt already the sense of belongingness, and personally, I felt the urge to kumbaga, isibuwag pa niya sa iba nga tao. Regardless man kung churchmate ko siya or hindi. And dara siya nag-spur and it led from one point to another. Ang environmental awareness ko dara man nag-start, which subong nag-lead sa akon nga mag-join sa Youth for Climate Hope sa gignagmay nga butang makabulig ako maka-volunteer. Because sa church pa lang, we do the batares, mga clean-up drives sa various places and districts sa amon church and sa mga kung diin-diin ang lugar that needs the help. And the love for education and teaching nga ako man gina-start i-advocate subong also started from the church. Because sa church, we have the summer school and some of our members there, especially those who are teachers, help the students to to grow not just spiritually but also intellectually. And from then on, I see the importance of these nga mas nami kung i-widen mo siya ang network mo para mas blamo ang mabuligan. And also, my progressiveness also started from the church. And yeah, still many are curious and some are even dubious about why the church is able to do such social civic initiatives nga with consistency and impact. Well, I believe it it started with our individual efforts nga ginalid gid sang amon nga nga pamahalaang pangkalahatan which is led by our brother Eduardo Manalo nga ginatutuyan gid kami from our steps because yeah, our system is centralized. However, we can also do our part individually, like do acts of kindness sa buntag sa katawo in meaningful ways and however we can. But it is when the church acts collectively that is able to help more people and make a bigger difference to a greater majority. One example nga ma-share ko and that I am proud was when the COVID-19 pandemic struck the country, our church turned over the Philippine Arena to be the We Heal as One Center sa Bulacan, and it really helped, I suppose, the countrymen, especially dito sa sa NCR and the Calabarzon, no, nga mangin sentro ang Philippine Arena as healing center bala, of course with the help of our frontliners, our government agencies, and amo na dara makita ko mismo as member of the church nga our church really leads us to by example and leads us to be an example as well to help our fellow men in greater causes and of course above all the common good nga kina-anchor namon sa amon faith to bala ma-praise namon si Lord God and of course the Lord Jesus Christ. Ano siya.
Thank you so much, Renjil. And it's so paano ko siya paano ang wording, but it's actually very helpful sa akon man to listen to all of your perspectives and actually understand where you're coming from sa inyo nga mga kinahimo. Kaya as I've said, no, nag-ahalin ako sa non-religious and even part of non-religious organizations nga nag-post for secularization diri sa Philippines. Kami sa amon sa Humanist Alliance Philippines International, grupo ni siya sa mga atheist agnostics diri sa Philippines. We're actually also pushing for mga different causes nga mag-uplift sa aton pangabuhi sa every Filipinos. And I think dira man kita ang isa sa aton mga common ground kung diin kita maka-come together is actually how do we make the lives of our people better, hindi bala? Isa gani sa lesson namon kung paano isa ka question agin po sa among teacher sa religion kung paano ko naton ipa-feel ang heaven sa subong, heaven at the present. And I think that's making the lives of our people, fellow Filipinos and entire human race better, hindi bala? Hindi man pwede nga mag-istorya kita sang kanamion sang kabuhi pagkatapos sa subong nga kabuhi kung tanan diri nagaanto sa kapigaduhon, nagaanto sa tanan-tanan. So it's actually a very rich experience for me hearing all of you. And I think this is going to be my last question, as all of you are I think I can wish for a more diverse pagidbitani, no? Siguro we can do that in the next episodes. Diverse pagid sa iba naman yung mga religious denominations, hindi Christians, but as all of you are Christians and halin sa Christian denominations. si Kristo siguro sa inyo tanan-tanan yung mga religious denominations, Christ is often portrayed as one of the most progressive servant leaders sa history. Siya nag-upod sa mga pigado, nag-upod sa there's even a story, hindi ba lang ang kinapinan niya, ang prostitute. 'Di ba daw may anecdote nga mo na sa Bible. So, paano ang inyong portrayal of Jesus nag-play sa inyong participation of in the youth movement kung paano ninyo makita ang sosyedad. So, paano ang portrayal of Jesus bilang isa ka progressive servant leader nag-play sa inyo participation sa youth movement and social action. Sige, wala na di si Jericho. I think ang iyang internet connection nagalain na gid. Ikaw, ng Trish.
Okay, so sang gina-ask mo na ang question, ang first thing nag-pop in sa mind ko, looking through my different engagements with the youth and having to manage all of these, it reminded me of the responsorial psalm earlier when I attended Mass. It was, my God, why have you abandoned me? So, okay, it's strange to answer this question that way, no? But for me, being a servant leader, Jesus wasn't spared from hardships, mga difficulties. He felt abandoned. Imagine ang disciples niya abandoned him and betrayed him even. And when we talk about this path of servant leadership, it is very much like that, the way I look at it. Because this Lenten season, we are reminded of the Paschal mystery reflected in the Passion, the death, and the resurrection, right? So, as a servant leader, there would be times when we become so overwhelmed, we feel abandoned because the 100% siguro na ginahatag naton sa ini na particular organization, group, or movement, or advocacy is not the same as the 100% of the other young person or the other people in your particular organization. And there are maybe moments when we are at the verge of giving up, coupled with some issues that we might have with our family, with relationships, with work, and with school for others, and many more. So there are doubts and questions that would come in our mind na we would ask ourselves, why me nga agad gakatabo pa ni sa akon, do ga-serve man ko, why, what did I do to deserve this? Why is this happening to me? So all these surface, yes, all these feelings are valid. But for me, with my Catholic faith, I'd like to share with you something that has helped me in moments like these in my path of becoming a servant leader. So instead of asking the question, why me? Why is this happening to me? Change it to, what is this difficulty or what is this challenge trying to tell me? So again, it's like, what is this challenge trying to tell me? And these challenges we encounter, I'd like to believe we go through these because it helps us, or it makes us more like Jesus. Looking back, even Jesus wasn't spared from all hurts na nasaktan siya, naka-experience siya pain, naka-experience man siya rejections, kag heartbreaks even. And this is all about the passion and the death that we are celebrating this Holy Week. So doka, para sa akon, who am I na hindi ko na ma-experience ang mga hurts and and mga pains in life? I'm not spared from all those things also. I might appear na doka okay lang sa akon, but I also go through interior struggles. I have experienced spiritual dryness as well. So once I have come to terms with all these challenges that are happening, is really to make me more like Jesus. And I offer all my hurts and difficulties and pains in life to him. Then I move on to the question. I ask myself, what would Jesus do in my place? So by doing this, or by asking this, there will always be that silver lining. And amo na siya ang the end, ang resurrection. So we have the passion, death, and the resurrection. There will always be hope at the end, or light at the end of the tunnel. So as I try to emulate this progressive servant leadership of Jesus, I'm also reminded of the spirituality of stewardship. We are not the owner of everything, but we are a steward of everything. So whatever God has given to us, He can take it away anytime at a snap of His finger. He can take that away. And we only get to realize the value of something sometimes when it is already gone. So I hope it can be a challenge for us also as servant leaders or as people, young people working for the church and working for certain advocacies, that we grab every opportunity to show love towards everything and everyone around us. So basically, for me, that's what servant leadership is all about, looking at it in the life of Jesus.
Thank you so much, Manang Cherish. How about you, Jericho, if your internet is okay na? Sige, let's wait for Jericho to come back. Ikaw, ano, Rangel? How does the image of Jesus portrayed as progressive servant leader play into you?
Oh, well, I'll start from the church. Our church believes that the Lord Jesus Christ, the Son of God, is the one and only Savior given by God. Christ is the sole mediator between God and man, and the only way to God. The attributes of a human being are being found in Christ. He hungered, thirsted, and became weary or tired. He slept and he died. Basically, he felt all the human emotions that we now, as humans, also experience. And as for me, I see Christ as a depiction of someone who is a great leader, uh, someone who is uh, a voice for the voiceless, someone who really helps and extends his hands willingly to be able to help and uplift others. And by subscribing to that notion, I can say that my actions, my visions, and my volunteerism will be effective and efficient in such a way nga I can see the Christ-like in me. Duka mo na bala. And it really is a great example, or Jesus Christ is a really great example to portray or like to follow, because not because that he not because nga he was the son of God or he was perfect, but he shows us how it should be done. Kumbaga, he showed us the example nga you can be compassionate, you can be loving, you can be understanding despite of all the differences, despite of all the misunderstanding or whatnot. Kumbaga, amidst of it all, you can really meet in between and be able to be understanding at the same time. Mabinuligon sa isig katao mo, bisan pa nga lain-lain ka mo pagpati, lain-lain ka mo ginahimo sa kabuhi, from still you can meet in between and progress together as human beings or as a society and community as a whole. Amo na siya.
Thank you so much, Rangel. That's so wonderful to listen coming from you. Madamo nga damo gid nga masalamat. And also, before we go to the closing messages of our invited guests tonight, please know that Negresanon Young Leaders Institute is doing a lot of work on ground. So please support our work on empowering young leaders in community facilitation and organizing for more sustainable communities and sustainable Negros. No, ara ang amon nga um, donation channels sa screen. So please help us raise and help us continue the work we do diri sa Negros Occidental. Kag ang NYLI nagapangita man sa mga ambassador. So ang NYLI Ambassador Program is intended for individuals who wish to use their influence and network to help the organization grow in reach and financially towards the sustainability of its program and services. So padayon kita, no, kung pwede gid ka mo makadonate ara ang amon nga China Banking Corporation account name, Negresanon Young Leaders Institute, and the account number below. So your donation will really, really go a long way. how you may choose to donate to our specific programs and projects. So, pwede nga ma-donate ka sa amon youth engagement, sa amon nga youth empowerment, or sa amon youth education. Or you may give to the fund to where it is most needed. So, each peso that you will contribute will be well accounted for and will be used for the implementation of our programs and services. Thank you so much. And siguro to cap off this program, I would like to hear from our guests, if Jericho can come back, a one-liner message to the youth, in especially in these trying times, and how we should continue and do the things that we do for uh, the society and for the youth, or anything that you just want to say to our young people. Sige, sino mag-una? Go, Rangel.
Yeah, yeah. To my fellow youth, let us anchor all the things that we do sa aton nga faith, and by saying that, let us open our eyes to the realities of this world and everything that's happening right now, and see and assess where we can help, that where we can give, so that we will be able to progress together. And bago ko mag-end, I would like to remind all the youth nga magkaedad 18 years old pababaw nga magparehistro sa lapit ninyo nga COMELEC offices para makabotar kita sa maabot nga eleksyon, and to be able to choose the leader nga that we deserve, and syempre ang gaanggid sa aton nga Jesucristo as Christians, or whatever denomination that we belong. We deserve the best, but nothing but the best. Salamat.
Thank you, Rangel, no? So, si Rangel nag-remind sa aton nga magboto, nga in connection and with relevance to the values that we hold. And kung ang iban, depende sa inyo religion, kung okay bala kita sa pamatay, or okay bala kita sa mga polisiya nga mga sumusin. So, it's actually very, very good practice. I think kay Father Chris, kung yung nabatian, Social Action Center Director sa Diocese of Bacolod, it's ang pagboto ko no is a very, very good practice of our religion. Kaya nagapakita ini sa aton nga values, kag kung sa ano, diin nasta nga aton natunan, kung diin nasta nga aton pagtuo. Sige, more of that soon, siguro, from NYLI, then more in the near future. Sige, Rangel, may dugang ka?
Before I forget, nalipat ko. And of course, guys, I would like to remind you all na to be responsible consumers and be environmentally conscious, given nga ang aton subong kahamtangan sa atong kalibutan is hindi na magamaayo. And with that, gusto ko lang i-remind kayo kita tanan yung maging responsable sa aton nga palibot and ang liga ng aton kalibutan. Kay kita tanan ang kapamulos kag nagaisahanon lang ini. And amo lang nga, madamo gyud salamat sa inyo tanan.
Sorry, nakamute ko galit. Thank you so much, Rangel. So, hambal, ang answer ni Jericho, our baptismal vows as Christians are realized by entering the crucible of serving the people. We come to challenge any adversities and pursue the path of liberation of others. Thank you so much, Jericho. And how about you, Manang Trish?
As for me, siguro, I'd like to share with the young people listening right now a conversation that Pope Francis had with the youth as well. So, Pope Francis told us to be brave, to take risks, and to say what is deep in our hearts without filter, and let the voices of the young be heard. So then, a young person approached him and asked, what if I make a mistake? What if magsala ko? If I do this? If I say all these things? And then Pope Francis responded, you will make more mistakes if you remain still. So when we take a look at the world, greatness is often depicted in such a way that we do not make mistakes, we seem perfect, and we're doing okay. Know that committing mistakes does not mean failure, but it reflects your courage for trying. It's okay not to be okay all the time. That is why we have people around us whom we can go to, our families, friends, significant others, support groups, mental health professionals, guidance counselors, and even our warriors in heaven. And seeking for help is never a sign of weakness. Rather, it shows boldness for being able to acknowledge that we cannot do it alone. And when we take a look at God's eyes, in His eyes, our greatness isn't measured by not making mistakes. Rather, it is in our own vulnerabilities, through our own weaknesses, because it is during these moments when we put our complete trust and surrender in Him. So, as He continues to weave in the tapestry of our lives according to His own patterns, I hope that you, my dear young people, you would allow yourselves to be willing instruments and in his vineyard, and also to strive and practice the little way, and then let go and let God, and be surprised in the masterpiece that he will eventually create in you. So yes, that's
Thank you so much, Manang Trish and Renjil and Jericho for joining me tonight. It has been so lovely talking to you, and I hope that we can, I just wish that we could have spent more time. Pero madamo gid nga salamat. So sa liwat ini ang Sugilanon kag nag-discuss kita kung paano ang mga tumuluo nga mga pamatanon nag-aabanse man sang mga kausa para sa mga pamatanon para sa sosyedad. And when you look at it, makita mo gid nga pwede ka magpati kag you can actually have faith in the youth engagement. Makita nimo ang ginaobra nila, ang ginaobra naton. So hindi pwede nga madalaan kita sa paglaom sa youth engagement, and I think it's also a challenge to our government leaders to konsultahan nyo man ang mga pamatanon, because I'm sure that they have a lot to offer to the table in terms of governance and advocacies and then in reaching more people. So, amo na, sa madamo gid nga salamat sa liwat. It's been lovely talking to you. Hag sa liwat, no? I would just need like to reiterate ang NYLI wala na nag-exist among the virtual spaces, but also sa aton nga mga community. So please support our work and donate through our donation channels. And if you want to know more about us, please visit our Facebook page and our website, nagersananyoungleaders.org. And please, also, gusto man namon kamo nga makaistorya liwat, makasugilanon liwat sa madason nga episodes ng Sugilanon sa April 11, 2021. So, madamo gid nga salamat sa pag-upod sa amon sa mga gabi. So, please practice social distancing still applicable pagyapon ang pagsuksok sang mask, paggamit sang alcohol, pagpanghinaw. Kag pinaka-importante gid ang dako kuno nga intervention, pinaka naming intervention para sa ma-prevent ang dason ng mga pandemic kag ang dason ng mga health and iban mga crisis sa ating sosyedad is ang pag-vote kag ang pagparehistro. So, madamo gid nga salamat sa tanan sa pag-intra sa amon sa mga gabi kag kabay nga may maayo ka mga gabi kag maayo nga tulog. Thank you so much and good evening.